welcome to Friday's Live at 5, a little earlier than 5. Hope you are all able to tune in, or you can tune in a little bit later. But again, this week I wanted to delve into the wetting of the paper thing, and I wanted to take it up a notch. For me, at any rate, it'll be up a notch. Getting all those lovely soft edges in the shadows here, while there's going to be some very specific crisp edges as well. And there's a lot of architectural detail in this. And before you jump into a subject like this, it's good to ask yourself, well, what were you after when you picked this? And when I picked this, it was the light. There was this kind of architectural detail all over the place. And it was the quality of the light in the street that got me. Because other times of day when all the architecture was illuminated, it was not as interesting to me as this. So just like last week, I'm going to do the wetting of the paper. So first I'm going to wet the back of the paper. Hello, Renee. I have drawn more this week because there is some very specific stuff that I do want to try to get, but I didn't try to do too much. In fact, I may have done too much because when we put these soft edges in, they're going to move around. So it doesn't pay to really nail everything down too well. So first, I'm going to take a big brush and I'm going to wet the back of the sheet. And hopefully I've figured out the size of this so that you can see everything I'm doing. So moistening the back. This is 140 pound Saunders rough. Going to, I hope when I tape this you'll be able to see everything. And now I have to do the front. And I'm at a 45-degree angle here, so that's keeping everything moving downhill. I drew with a 3B pencil. I don't want to draw with too hard a pencil because it won't be dark enough to see, but I don't want to draw with something too soft because when I do this, the drawing will disappear. It's already starting to loosen up. So I'm getting it good and wet. The rough, consistent, well, okay. Next thing I want to do is I want to take the paper towel and I want to roll it to get the excess moisture off. Now I've discovered that there are people who don't use any tape at all, but I am going to tape. This is 3/4 inch tape. Okay, I've got a little bit extra drawing left over. And hopefully everything that I'm going to be painting will be in frame. I suppose I could pull back a little later if not. But the next thing I want to do is I want to plan my zones for all my different colors. So I've got these light yellowish, ochreish zones. I've got these ochre orange zones. I've got some cool grays and siennas over here. I've got some slightly warmer values of the same things through here. This almost appears to have a little bit of pinkishness in it. So I've got on the palette some, to get this color here, I've got some Naples yellow. And I'm just going to kind of go through and get that. So I'm using slow-moving paint. Again, we have to use slow-moving paint because there's already water there. So paint through anything that's going to be darker, and don't worry about it. I'm going to modulate this a bit with some yellow ochre, just to, so it's not all, paint through the figures, because they're darker, they're going to be, the light down there is cool. Now over here, I'm going to put a little bit of orange in it. Because it does appear to be more orange to me. And on this end, the Naples yellow. Now at the top, I got a tiniest bit of blue in this sky. And other parts of this is darker, so I don't have to worry about it. But I do need to get all of it, all right? Okay. In here, I've got a kind of a sienna. So I'm mixing some transparent oxide red in here. That looks bright, I know. I might put a little bit of that in here. But I'm going to kill that with a little bit of the blue too. So just, boy, a little bit more of the blue in the mix over here. This could go south, I will not lie to you. I'm using slower moving paint. What company of paint am I using? I like the ones that have honey in them. So I am using mostly M. Graham and also Sennelier. Those are the two that use the honey in the mix. So every time I go back into an area, I have to remember that there's water there. I've just painted there. There's water underneath on the sheet. So I have to be careful. I want darker. Oh, that's it. That's closer to what I'm looking for. I'm going to let it do its thing. And I'm going to make it bluer at the bottom, because I see it very cool in here. Maybe even some lavender, slow-moving lavender. Get the figures. I don't care about them. Over here, I need some more of the orange ochre coming along the side there. Let's go all the way into this, maybe get a little blue in there. Like I say, the edges are going to migrate all over the place. This I want to be a little pinker. So I'm going to put some blue and some alizarin to make a more purplish. Oh boy, look at that. That's weird. Put a little bit of the yellow into it. Like I say, it's going to go where it goes, and we're going to have to make the architectural details appear where they appear. We have to, so to speak, play it where it lies, like the golfers say. Okay, in here, it's going to mingle and merge. Oh boy. Now, if something happens, for example, I want a very light spot in there. I did leave a little bit of, so I'm taking a damp brush, I squeezed it out, and I can mop out the excess there. And I can come back and tint that as I need. Yep. Now, where do I want to go next? I think I want to introduce some more color into certain areas. It's damp here. I know it's damp because I can see it glisten. So I have to go in with thicker paint. Very slow moving paint. Can't be runny. Maybe some blue in here. Here. Here perhaps. You probably noticed there are some street lamps in there. I'm not going to try to put those in because the way these edges are moving around, I'm probably going to lose them. So we'll have to put them in where they happen. So now I'm doing a kind of more brownish mix. Rinsing, blotting the excess water off the brush. Hi, Michael. Let's get back into the very slow-moving mixtures there. You see, it's not moving. Cobalt or ultramarine, maybe with a little red to make a dark purplish color. I want to try and get some of these darker doorways. Very slow moving paint so that I can, there goes the dreaded green spot. There's already water here, so I don't want to, I don't know what's happening. I think the thing might be dying on me. Oh, not. Might darken my figures already. It is getting drier here. But remember, because we're on an angle, it's going to be wetter at the bottom than it is at the top. So if I want to do things, for example, maybe I want a little bit warmer where the other building is showing over here. Let's see, a little darker. I'm merging these colors together. What's important is the consistency of the paint more than the color. I'm guessing I can get some windows and things in here. It's a little drier up here, so I can do underneath the balcony. Oh, goodness. I just see something. that I really need to. So you're going to see how, if I screw it up, this is what we'll try to do. Here, right here, there's I'm lifting with I rinsed that brush off very good. I squeezed it out. And I'm lifting the area where that plant is dropping over the balcony, and I'm going to put some very thick yellow in there because it's similar to the lighter color in the foliage. And I'm going to try and make that a little greener later. Now underneath it is some more of the reddish colors, so it might behoove me to go to a smaller brush so that I'm not carrying as much paint. And I'm going to get some sienna-ish colors. Under here, they're pots, I think. Potted plants. Oh, and I see some area that I do need to dry or mop as well. When you do that, you have to remember that you're going to pull some paint up. So you have to squeeze the brush out so that it will do that. Now I need some bluishness in here, so it's probably still a little damper down there. Slow moving. Yeah, there we go. All the way back. A little darker in here too. Figures will be dark, so it doesn't matter. Still damp. I can get away with it. Oh, darn. Let's see. When I want it dark, I go with ultramarine and the sienna, burnt sienna. I'm going to start playing with my figures right now. Hard to believe they're actually casting shadows, even in that. It's a balcony up here where it's rather dark under there, but warmish. Under here too. My goodness. Important thing, keep the consistency of the paint slow moving or not moving, because every time you paint, you're bringing water to it. And there's already water there. More blue. more blue. Oh, that this too solid edge would melt. I need some dark under here. Need a lot of dark under there, don't I? Some in there. Starting to dry up on me now. So I need to get in my strong darks from the top half of the picture. There's some sort of arched area in here that does frame that figure. Smaller brush, because I'm making smaller shapes. Not that color. How about this? All right. Slow moving, that's all that matters. A little more blue in that. Some more of the red. Put some faces on them. I probably should have limited myself to a very simple palette, maybe like 3 colors or something. Let's see. That's kind of greenish, isn't it? Really, it's the values of the, whoa, that's too dark. Oh, that too hard edge should melt. Now that needs to be darker, and I think probably what I'm going to have to do is get in here and dry. Oh, look at that, it's too dark. So that's way dry now. So I'm probably going to have to dry the whole shooting match. I can see this. I can get away with that. I'm going to need the big brush for that. This whole edge needs to be darker and colder, bluer. Yep, that's better. Now, here it needs to have a little more of that sienna influence in it. Yeah, now my lights, I feel like, are starting to jump out. and sing the way they should. Wow. Okay. We gets what we gets. And I think I need some of that in here too to make this really stick out. Like I say, this whole thing could go south. We don't know. That's probably closer to what I'm looking for, but not that. So I mop it out. We'll see. All right, where's that little brush? Some of the architectural detail here. I am going to, it's probably dangerous, but I am going to put that orange-er influence in here. And I do need it also a little darker down this edge too. Orange, orange. Cooler colors. Okay, now this, I think, really needs to be dried. I'm going to try to take a rinsed out, squeezed out brush and try to recover that edge. I'm going to tint that light area. Probably going to need to go darker there. We're going to have to turn that into a... This is most decidedly the holy mess stage. This is where Joseph Zbocevich says the most important thing that you have as a painter can't be bought, can't be taught, It's faith. You just keep going. You have a plan, and you just keep going. The area is damp, or you've just painted there, then you need to use very stiff paint. We can glaze, but I'm going to try and save that for later. Fingers crossed. Get some darker business in here. And let's see. Nope. Too dark. That window is framed by some interesting stuff like that, as is the archway and portions of this. The little parapet. So the very, very stiff dark, I'm going to try to get some bars or railings into that. Underneath that corbel, I think they're called corbels or some sort of architectural feature. Start trying to find my doorways. Watch your perspective. So this is where you, since I'm pretty much having to make this up, you want to make sure that things are not going across, they're going like so. So sticking with the ultramarine and sienna mixes. It behooves me to make a lot of that. This paint that I'm using right now is nearly the consistency of like, say, acrylic or something. And because it's going into a wet surface, it's dissolving somewhat. So I'm going to make two versions of that same mix, one a little bluer and one a little redder, or more sienna-ish, so that I can indicate indicate some of these things in here. The intervals of these dark shapes will be kind of important. Their width, vary them. Their spacing, vary them. Don't like that. Make it like narrow, wide. Try and come up with a way of making it variegated so that they're not I think this guy was carrying his biker's helmet. So starting to get some appearance of something, we hope. There were some signs in this neighborhood too, which we need to indicate. There's one of those lamps. This area in here needs some work, so this is where I'm going to get in there and try to make the green of that foliage or whatever it is that's hanging over the balcony appear to be something like that. Let's park a little bit of red in on this sign because it'll sing next to that green. I'm taking the clue from elsewhere, but some perspective lines. This figure, these figures back here, I'm going to need to make a little bit more far away and ambiguous. Two, Johnny, what are you doing? The other side is I have to make that window kind of weirdly colored or something. There we go. That's better. Good old lavender. Okay, bigger brush. Holbein lavender. I'm glazing now. This area is pretty much dry. Try to leave some of the rough texture of the paper, suggest the cobblestones, we hope. Something a little brownish in there too. Let's get that smaller brush, rinse it out. In here, I hope it's dry enough to make a sort of yellow ochre plus orange business. And I need more of that. I think more on the ochre side. Some more things in here. Okay, let's go in for those final darks, which are going to be made up primarily of the ultramarine and the sienna. Two mixes, one more sienna than ultramarine, the other more ultramarine than sienna. I'm just looking for the interesting intervals that I can come up with. Always blotting between strokes. This is a hard one. Didn't know what I was getting into here. Do one of those little lamps. Probably going to have to go in with some buff titanium to not going to put them everywhere, but it would be nice to have one up here, wouldn't it? Like little cocktail shakers. Very stiff paint. Again, I'm looking for interesting intervals to break up spaces. Wide, narrow, wide, narrow. Then when I look at this image, there are cameras everywhere. Actually wouldn't have thought that. I associate that more with England. Okay. Stiff purplish dark. How about these figures back here? Guy carrying a bag. People over here. Find their head and shoulders, lose their feet, so they look like they're in motion. So I'm just putting in minor details. There needs to be an orange sienna kind of thing like that. Should be darker as it gets to the bottom of the street. I need more monkey business up here. It's getting away from me, I think. Let's pull this tape off and see what we get. So it did turn out to be as difficult as I thought it would be. I wanted to address the idea of how in the world am I going to get hard edges and soft edges with an approach like this. So now I just want to have a look at it, see what I can come up with. The important thing is at least I'm sort of getting used to the idea that I need to be aware of wherever it is I was painting. There's moisture underneath the paper. and there's moisture on top that I just brought to it. So I have to be careful to make sure that the consistency of paint that I'm bringing to this is not going to create a blossom because it's too wet. So it has to be very slow moving paint. I'm going to make this top turquoise just for the difference. Maybe I'll give him a shirt. Yeah. Turquoise shirt. I do want to kind of glaze this area a little bluer. Whoa. Maybe not that blue. See, there's an example. I brought in something too wet, just what I was just talking about. So I'm going to move it out. I do need some a little bit of the other side of the street here. There are some stronger darks under there. That's better. Some very deep, strong dark there underneath that. Oh, there's an, I know there's a word for that kind of molding. What? There's pipes on the side of the building, but I don't know if I want to get involved in all that. Okay, we just need a bit more window detail over here. Yes, Michael, the paper, depending, if I put my finger here, it's cool to the touch. That means that there's water beneath the surface, but not much. Areas where I just painted, very cool, and quite a bit of moisture underneath the paper. So I'm just erring to the side of making what I bring to it rather dark or rather stiff. Now I'm just see if I can make a little more of those lights. And I'm probably going to need the Holbein color called Jaune Brilliant. It's a kind of a yellowish white, and I can make the lights the street lamps. I can also use that to make that little bit of very brilliant light in certain places. This is dipping right in and into the tube. And there's a little Anateca over there. It was very good. I might put some tiny highlights on the tops of some of these figures' heads and shoulders. Yeah, I like that. I do want that greenery, to be a little bit more green. So turquoise and cad yellow. There we go. Can I introduce that somewhere else? Probably I shouldn't. Oh, I could. Put this little railing across here. Break up that boring space. I do need something. There's a reflection on that window that's odd, so I'm going to give it that. Something in here. Purplish dark, I think. Very strong. The one, if you've got an area that appears to be too opaque, if you slam in something that's even more opaque, it will look transparent by comparison. But you don't want to get it too messy in that respect. Okay, so my first try at trying to do a very complex hard and soft edges in the same work while using damp paper. I'm liking this, I really am. I just need to figure out how to work it for me to the sorts of images that I see and like. And I can see why folks use it. So yeah, there's a whole nother thing in here, isn't there? It's those pipes or something. I don't know. But the hard thing is when you put in these zones of color, they're going to migrate, they're going to move. So it's sort of difficult to have too much architectural stuff going on there and have it all come out in the right place. So you kind of have to, or at least I have to, play it where it lies, I guess you would say, where it seems to appear. I would like to, the lovely thing about this, I've found, is that you can lift if you're careful. Because most of the colors I'm using, the siennas and the ultramarines and that sort of thing, will lift. Yeah, I get that strong bright area in there. And there's a strong, bright area in here. So do it, press, and lift. Oh yeah, that helps. So I'm just loosening it up with water and taking it out. If I want to straighten up this edge, there's a way to do it. Like, for example, this edge should be straighter. I will just loosen the paint up. Press, lift. I could make a light spot up here. Press, lift. I could clean up this edge along here, because ultramarine is a good lifter. Press, lift. Let's put a little bit of lightness in here, maybe. Well, let's see, what can we do? Oh, let's try. I best not get carried away here. But it is fun. And a little bit lighter behind the figures. Here we go. Let's get some lightness from the cobblestones. Press and lift. And there, okay, that's it. I'm gonna not fiddly with it. I'm gonna let it be. And hopefully, yes, it does, the soft edges give it that airy quality. I like that. So if I can find a way to keep that and use it strategically. Obviously, when I see people who paint this way and get a wonderful effect with it, what I don't know is what their original scene that they were painting from looked like. So possibly they're being very cagey about what they put in or leave out, or what they've selected in the first place. So here's an example. I can clean up that edge there. Could really lighten this area in here. Sort of silhouette that figure. Yeah, there we go. Yep, that I like. Use a stiffer brush. This is like an oil nylon brush or something. And yeah, I'm gonna cut my losses. He said as he goes in and plays with it some more. Straighten up that edge. But I like the mood. I like the mood of it. And I'm going to keep working with it till I figure out how to get the effect I like. A little more red on my figure's faces, some orange here too. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention is when you do these, remember to keep your heads just about on the same level. the figures will get smaller, but their heads will all be about the same level. What changes is where their feet are. Closer they are, farther the feet come down. So foreground, middle ground, distance. So there, and there. And that'll help you make your figures look more like what you want. So thank you all for tuning in. I am going to keep working with this. I'm liking what it can do, and more experiments to come. So everybody stay safe, stay sane, and peace out.